Three big policy matters, and they make it clear which law takes priority for our lawmakers. The government took the money bill route to push the Aadhaar bill in Parliament on Friday. The controversial bill was passed as a money bill after the government overruled objections raised by the opposition that the bill could have serious implications on privacy and security of citizens. Even as the NDA pushed the Aadhaar bill through, other pending bills addressing the issue of marital rape and decriminalization of homosexuality continued to be ignored by the government. Now, marital rape may have been criminalized in all major democracies across the world, but in India, our parliamentarians are not willing to recognize it as a crime. Last week, while responding to a query regarding the government's plan to criminalize marital rape, Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi virtually ruled out the possibility of a law that could act as a deterrent. Maneka Gandhi said, and I quote, "It is considered that the concept of marital rape as understood internationally cannot be suitably applied in the Indian context." She cited factors like level of education, illiteracy, poverty, social customs, religious beliefs and mindset of society for inability to provide such a law. The United Nations, remember, has also recommended to India to make marital rape a criminal offence. Criminalizing marital rape was also one of the suggestions made by the Justice Verma Committee, a three-member panel that was appointed to strengthen India's anti-rape laws. And here's a look at the arguments given by both sides. Some say laws on marital rape in India are regressive. Others argue that criminalizing marital rape will threaten social unit of family. That's one of the arguments that's been given by the government as well. Now, the UN has recommended criminalization of marital rape, but there are others who believe that criminalizing marital rape is a Western concept and cannot be applied to India. This is an argument that was made by Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi in Parliament as well. All right, let's get a word from our panel of guests who are with us this afternoon. Mihira Sood is an advocate. She's with us live from the national capital. Also with us, Shaina NC of the BJP. Shaina, I want to come to you first. Maneka Gandhi, while speaking in Parliament, said the concept of marital rape cannot be applied to India because of factors like illiteracy and lack of awareness. But just because women here aren't literate enough, should they be denied the right over their bodies because they're in a marriage?
I think there are three factors we need to come to reality with. One is that in the West there are various cases of people who are exposed to a different culture vis-a-vis India. You take, for example, even sex education. How many of us even are given to understand what is sex education at school, primary levels, or for that matter, even for young girls in rural India, some of which who once getting married.
Shaina, I understand what you're saying about lack of sex education in our country, but sex education and criminalization of marital rape are two different subjects. There are two different topics. I just want to ask, because our society thinks that marriages have been made in heavens and husbands are supposed to be Pati Parmeshwar, they call a feature of God. Do you think that our society, these social norms are regressive, and shouldn't the government then stand up for women?
Not the logic. Let me can I please elaborate my stand? I am only saying that in the West the scenario and circumstances are very different to India. I am suggesting that if a woman is ostracized, assaulted, treated wrongly, there is the Domestic Violence Act which suggests that if a man is forcing himself on a woman, or for that matter ill-treating her or treating her in a way which a husband should not be treating a wife, there is the Domestic Violence Act. But do understand that the more complicated it gets when you have varied laws, some of which are not conducive to the social environment of the country. And for that matter, I'm not for 1 minute saying that the woman is not empowered to go into a police station or to go to a court of law and say she is being subjugated in a marriage or in a situation or a relationship. She should do that, and that is something that we all are for, and that is exactly what Maneka Gandhi said. But marital rape, what does it mean and who is to define? In a country like ours, where even sex education is a question mark, we have to view it in totality and understand that the West is an evolved society, probably far more promiscuous than we are, and for that matter, in a woman living in rural India, for example, she is to first be educated that there is a Domestic Violence Act.
All right,
there is an
Meera
act where you can go and complain
all right,
about
China,
this
you've made your point. Meera, I want to get a reaction from you. The BJP or the government in past seems to believe that the domestic violence bill, which will actually be applicable if a husband beats a wife, is the same law that should be applicable if a husband rapes a wife. Also saying that because we don't have sex education in our country, it's okay for rural women to be raped because they anyway don't know what's happening to their bodies.
Simi, I think this is absolutely absurd. It's disgusting coming from a government that has made so many promises of women's empowerment and women's equality. And I'd like to say a couple of things in response to what Shaina has had to say. When you say that bringing in a law criminalizing marital rape will destroy the social units of society, you're essentially saying that your society is built on husbands raping their wives. That's the society you are looking to preserve. When you say that marital rape is a Western concept, you are saying that women's agency and autonomy over their own body, even in a marriage, is something that is alien to India and we cannot have it. When you say that our society is, there is poverty, there is illiteracy, there is lack of education, I'm not sure whether it is referring to the women in society who may not be able to then access such a law, or whether it is referring to men in society who believe that because of all these factors, they believe that this is how a marriage is to be maintained. However, I'd just like to point out two things directly in response to what she said. If there is lack of sex education in this country, whose fault is it? What is stopping the government from bringing sex education? Today it's not an excuse to say that the West is a far more evolved society. The West is a far more evolved society because they have taken these measures, and not taking these measures is what is keeping us from being an evolved society.
All right, Meera and China, I'm going to come back to both of you. We're also getting calls from our viewers. We have R.B. Chaube on the phone line with us from Pune. Mr. Chaube, go ahead.
Ma'am, I want to say that this marital rape law is not applicable in Indian condition because we have some social and philosophical aspects
What
of
social and philosophical beliefs, Mr. Chaube? Are only marriages in India holy, abroad they are unholy marriages?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you thank you for calling us, Mr. Chaube. Shaina, I want to come to you. You said that we have a domestic violence bill that addresses the issue of marital rape. I actually had interviewed a young girl who was raped brutally by her husband, and in fact her case was also taken up by Colin Gonsalves's firm and taken to the Supreme Court. Now she said that she spent almost 2 months in a hospital recovering from excessive bleeding after she was brutalized by her husband, and the police refused to register a case. And when she went to the domestic domestic court, she was told that this is a petty domestic issue and they should look at solving it mutually. That's the reaction that you get from your local courts that actually are governed by the domestic violence bill. That's how family courts function today.
No, I completely concede to the point that the police must be much more sensitive, especially if a woman, irrespective of her status of being married or in a live-in relationship or whatever have you, if she goes to the police station and says she is being tortured and subjugated to this kind of mental harassment as well as physical abuse, the cases must be registered. That is one thing. Conviction on those cases is also something that we need to strive towards to ensure that there is a higher conviction rate where it is proven that there is forceful rape, etc. I'm completely in belief that yes, systematic changes and lacunas in the system need to be resolved. But I only want to highlight what Maneka Gandhi said to put a reference to context. She said it is considered that the concept of marital rape as understood internationally cannot be suitably applied in the Indian context due to various factors like education, illiteracy, poverty, myriad social customs and values, religious beliefs, and of course the mindset of society to treat marriage as a sacrosanct, etc. However, there is the domestic violence bill that addresses any case of abuse, whether the woman is married or in a live-in relationship. Now, for those who say that we are not a progressive government and we are not thinking forward, of course we are. But we are saying, look at the backlog that you have even in the legal scenario. Look at the backlog you have in cases which have not even been addressed. You have highlighted a case of a girl who went to the police and that has not also been. So just by having law after law and people using it, misusing it, using it to suit their advantage, not their advantage. Rather than that, let's think about how we can empower our own society and our own community of women, rural and urban, to realize that there are systems in place, there are laws, and there are ways to address issues where you are being subjugated to a perverted mind or man, irrespective of whether he is a so-called Pati Parmeshwar or a husband or just a friend.
Right. Mihira, I want to ask you, there may be several arguments that can be made against what the government is saying, but at the end of the day, we do have a mechanism which doesn't work. The police refuses to, in fact, even register cases of domestic violence when, for example, a woman is slapped by her husband or is beaten up. There's also a dichotomy in law. For example, a woman under the age of 18 is not allowed to get married, but a husband is allowed to have sex with his wife if his wife is above the age of 15. So there are dichotomies in law also that need to be addressed.
Yes, of course, that's true. I mean, this is something that, women's rights activists have been demanding for a very long time, and some of these laws, there is a dichotomy because they're trying to strike a balance between recognizing social realities without necessarily reinforcing them and all of that. But to not recognize marital rape as an offense is not something that is only recognizing social realities. It is reinforcing a concept that once a woman is married, she is no longer in control of her own body. And frankly, it is extremely patronizing and condescending to say, why do you need a law on marital rape when you have this Domestic Violence Act? It is extremely patronizing and condescending to say that because many people see marriage as a sacrament and there are religious beliefs against it, we do not want to pass a law that recognizes that a woman has this right over her own body. A government that has made a promise, for instance, and has a promise that has appealed to many of its voters of bringing in a uniform civil code, is now talking about religion as an excuse for men to rape their wives and for those men to not be punished for it. And why should the woman not have a choice of which law she would like to approach the court under? Domestic violence is one thing, marital rape is one thing. This government is very happy to criminalize everything under the sun. But we're talking of, I cannot believe I actually heard the argument that there is a backlog of cases, so don't make more laws. You know what, if there is a backlog of cases, how about decriminalizing 377?
Absolutely, that's an important argument. Distinction needs to be drawn between a case of domestic violence and marital rape. Shaina Mira, stay on with us. We're also being joined by Kamal Farooqi, member of the Muslim Personal Law Board. Religious groups, we do know, across the board are against the idea of criminalizing marital rape. Kamal Farooqi, thank you for speaking to India Today. Simi Pasha here. We've spoken on this issue before as well. What do you have to say? Do you actually think that a woman after getting married, does she have any rights over her body, or should she just give in to her husband and it's okay for him to rape her at will?
No, she has got all the right over her body. There is no absolutely, she should not be treated like an animal. But at the same time, we have also to see that we have to educate both our man and women force, in fact, that what are the rights. And we should not go to the extreme, in fact, because we know it, that we have got so many laws, but how they are being misused or how they are not being
But Mr. Farooqi, why not criminalize marital rape? You're going by the assumption that husbands don't brutalize their wives. Even if in fact this crime is taking place in a few marriages, why not empower the wives?
No, hold on. I did not say, don't try to put the words into my mouth. Yes, there is so much violence against women. Even the husbands are doing all those kinds of things. But at the same time, the situation is like this, that we have to educate our women also what are their rights, and they must be told that the husband does not have the complete control over the body of a woman. So we have to more. It needs the education. What in fact the Maneka has said. In fact, we must realize that our society needs more and more education, both for the man and women. Going too far, in fact, may perhaps will not be helpful to even the women folks.
Right, Mr. Farooqi, I agree that there is a huge percentage of our population which is illiterate. I want to know, what is your reservation about criminalizing marital rape? What do you think will happen if marital rape is in fact criminalized? What are your concerns?
So very difficult to find out whether it was a consent or it was a, but a lot of things are in fact there. That in the relationship, it's very difficult. Anybody who wants to take advantage of it both ways, it could be taken the other way also. The Yes, women has got a complete right over her body. It could not be even after the marriage. The man doesn't have the license to use it as whatever way she feels like. That is the criminality. But at the same time, we personally feel that going in for more and more legislation is not helping the women folk. It is the education and the publicity for all those kind of things which has to be done. This is my personal point of view.
Mr. Kamal Farooqi, thank you for speaking to India today. At the end of the day, what we're seeing is that not our politicians, not religious leaders, no one is willing to stand by a woman who is married and protect her from marital rape. We have another caller on the phone line with us. Dr. Roma from Bhopal is with us. Yes, Dr. Roma, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a practicing psychiatrist in Bhopal, and I have so many clients who come with definitely marital rape, but you know, because of the non-existing law, they can't approach the police, they can't take the course of the law. So I'm just asking Shaina and see that where does a woman go if she is raped within the marriage? Because the very definition of rape is carnal intercourse without the female's consent. So where does a woman go? So please let Shaina answer this.
Shaina, do you want to respond to what Dr. Roma is saying? She's got lots of people who come in seeking help. They're being brutalized by their husbands, but they have nowhere to go because the police refuses to register cases. There's also that social stigma attached because a woman shouldn't, is not expected to raise her voice against her husband.
Forget expected or not expected. I think every woman is entitled to speak up. And please, we are not some regressive government that doesn't want women to get justice. Clearly we do. There is a court of law that one can go to. There is the Domestic Violence Act. Means what? I mean, it also means that if a man is forcing
may I just
you...
interject?
All right. Shaina, you made a point. You insisted that the domestic violence bill is sufficient. Meera, I'll give you 30 seconds.
About the Domestic Violence Act. Yeah, about the Domestic Violence Act, let's be very clear. It does not punish the husband. I mean, to say that the Domestic Violence Act is a substitute for marital rape, it's quite clear that the only constituency that this government is catering to is men, because the Domestic Violence Act it's not a criminal remedy, and it does not punish the husband at all. There is no punishment. It is only meant to protect a woman's rights within the home, and it gives remedies such as she is entitled to stay within the marital home. It does not say anything about what will happen to a husband if he is going to rape his wife. It does not provide any kind of punishment.